The title of my message today is going to be the word or a command from a true man or a woman of God. A word or a command from a true man or a woman of God. We have a lot of so-called men and women of God which are not true, and they are not even hearing from God. They claim that he is saved. But any word that comes from a true man or a woman of God need to pay much attention to, because it's God speaking through them to his people. And God is using their voice as his voice. And God is using those men and women as a vessel to speak directly to the people. And I believe that today God is going to speak to you. Amen. Today. I'm going to read from 2 Kings chapter 13, 14 through 19. And it goes. He said, now Elisha was falling sick, Elisha being the man of God, of his sickness, whereof he died. And Joash, the king of Israel, came down unto him and wept over his face and said, oh, my father, the chariots of Israel and the horsemen thereof. Let me just pause here. This is the King Joash who believed in God and also recognized Elisha as a man of God. And the Bible said Elisha the prophet was about to die, and he heard it, and he was sick, and he came and he fell at his knees and was crying, my father, the chariots and the horsemen thereof. He realized and recognized the power that comes from Elisha of old. Whenever there's a war and trouble, God speaks through this man of God. And when the enemy are coming, he uses his word as an armory and tanks that always fight their enemy. And he was crying to him, so you are about to go, my father. And he was not giving glory to Elisha, but giving glory to God through Elisha, recognizing him as a word, instrument of God. And Elijah said unto him, take bow and arrows. And he took unto him bows and arrows. And he said to the king of Israel, put thy hand upon the bow. And he put his hands upon it. And Elisha put his hands upon the king's hands. What does this mean? Elisha putting his hands upon the king's hands, which means God's hand is directing the hands of what? The king. And God's hands is in control of the life of what? King Joash. And Elisha said, open the window eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot. And he shot. And he said, the arrow of the Lord's deliverance, and the arrow of deliverance from Syria. For thou shalt smite the Syrians in Aphek till thou have consumed them. And he said, take the arrow. And he took them. And he said unto the king of Israel, smite upon the ground. And he smote thrice and stopped. And the man of God was wroth with him and said, thou should have smitten 5 or 6 times. Then thou hast smitten Syria till thou hast consumed it. Whereas now thou shalt smite Syria but thrice, which is not good. Which is not good. I'm going to go details about the whole encounter of the King Joash and the prophet Elisha. The king recognized the authority of a man of God. And here, the Elisha was falling sick of his sickness. I'm repeating again. Whereof he died. And Joash, the king of Israel, came down and wept his face and said, oh, my father, the chariots of Israel and the horsemen thereof. Here, the King Joash paid a visit to Elisha, was giving reverence to God through the man of God. And as he kneels and crying, he humbled himself, using Elijah as a point of contact or a reverence, because he's in the presence of a man of God, at the same as what? As God. And he put all his trust and recognition onto him, that through him Israel has won victory. So there's a power in the man of God that comes from God, and by recognizing and respecting and obeying his command, there's a success for him and the whole nation. And the question I ask, how many of us do recognize the authority and the reverence of a true man of God? I don't fault you, because there's a lot of false so-called prophets, false so-called men and women of God, that yes, sir, we need to distinguish and identify a true man or a woman of God, and recognize that they represent God. So anywhere that comes from true man or woman of God is directly coming from God. And they need to be what? Paid attention to. And we need to what? Respect those words. Because when a true man of God are speaking, it's God speaking to us directly, because they are the voice. They are the microphone as I'm holding, and God speak through them. And here the king recognized the authority within Elisha. And he traveled far because he heard that he was sick and he was about to die. And the title he was giving him, that was the title of God. He was calling him my father, my father. That's the recognition of God. Because Elisha represents God. And God was the father of the whole nation of Israel. And Elisha was a contact point. So hence he was about to die. He was troubled and calling him, oh, my father, the chariots and the horsemen. In those days, it's like our days in the armored tankers and armories. That was what they call the chariots. That's what they used to go to war. And Elisha alone, the word that comes from him, when there's a chariots of Assyrians and the enemies, when they are coming, Elisha words of command can stop that. And he was crying, you are about to die. How can we face this kind of battles? How can we face this kind of armories that will be coming to attack us? And Elisha gave him an order and command. Verse 15, the man of God gave order and command to the king. We need to pay attention for every word or instruction or command that will come from a true man of God. And as I'm speaking, including myself, we men and women of God also need to make sure we hear from God. So that every order and command given to his people are directly from him, not from our spirits, not what we feel, not what we think. Because I feel, I think, I suggest is contrary to the word of God. As Bishop was standing and giving plans towards the prayers, I believe he was speaking through God. Those are the commands and instructions that need to be respected. And we as the leaders also need to make sure we always seek the face of God before we give an order and instruction. Other than that, we will be misleading people. And that's not good as the leaders, and it is not good as the children of God. Here, in verse 15, and Elijah put his hand upon the king's hand. And Elijah's hand represents God's hand, who is controlling the hands of Joash, the king, to victory. I want to read verse 15. And Elijah said unto him, take bow and arrows. And he took unto him bows and arrows. 16. And he said to the king of Israel, put thy hand upon the bow. And he put his hand upon it, and Elisha put his hands upon the king's hands. That was a distinguished instruction that the prophet or the man of God gave. He commanded the king to put his hands on the bow, and he be the man of God, representing God. He put his hand also upon the man of God, which means he is controlling the king's hands through God's Spirit. We need to pay much careful and attention. Whenever any man of God gives us instruction, he may sound funny and foolish to us, but it might be the best wisdom from God. By directing his hands, which means it's not Joash, the king's hands anymore, but rather the hands of God, which is operating and is in control. And whenever we allow God to hold our hands and control it, what do you expect? Victory and success.
That's right.
Because the hand of God is a mighty hand that can overcome every trouble. It can correct every mistake in our lives, and also it can win every victory because his hands is the hands of victorious.
Yes.
And Elisha put his hands upon the king's hands, which means God is taking the barrel. God is controlling your hand. God is directing your affairs. God is dictating what you should do at this time.
Amen.
And he goes, and he said, the shooting of the arrow represents freedom. Sometimes we need to shoot or move ourselves from oppression and bondage. The next order or the command or the instruction that he gave to the king, he says, shoot the arrow, and he shoot them. Most often, we need to shoot ourselves from some situation. We need to shoot ourselves from lifestyle. We need to shut ourselves by separation from some relationship. And we need to shoot away some trouble out from our lives. And we need to listen to the instruction of God. And he said, open the windows eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot. And he shot. And he said, the arrow of the Lord deliverance, and the arrow of deliverance from Syria. For thou shalt smite the Syrian in Aphek, till thou have consumed them. That arrow that he opened the window and shot was a sign of victory. And as I said earlier on, sometimes we need to shoot. We need to shoot some things, clear them out from our lives. Shoot them out from our head. Shoot some troubles from our lives in order to overcome troubles and win the victory in our life.
Amen.
And the next he said, we need to make sure we are completely liberated He gave instruction to shoot continuously until he heard the order from the man of God. But Joash just shot 3 times and stopped. When we call for fasting and prayer, maybe may declare a day, but it is wise and better if you have the strength to continue on your own. Maybe 3 or even a week, 7 days for a total reparation. I'm not saying God doesn't hear prayer when we come for one day, but in total reparation, sometimes we need to take the wall a little bit more further, because sometimes it needs a little bit strength, and the fight need to carry a little further in order to experience total victory in your circumstances.
Amen.
And he said, take the arrow, and he took them, and he said unto the king of Israel, smite unto the ground, and they smote thrice and stay. Just 3 times. Elisha expressed his anger for not taking full advantage of God's deliverance from their enemies. And he said the men of God became rough. Sometimes we become frustrated. When you give instruction or order from God and ask people to do what is right, distance themselves from some trouble and some relationships that are not worthy, that are uncalled for, in order for God to deliver them and save them, they still go back and stay or attach in the same relationship and will come to you and cry in the same trouble. And sometimes we get upset. Most often we need to continually abstain ourselves and live the life that are acceptable and approved by God, if we want to experience total deliverance from some bondage and some trouble. It could be sickness, it could be family problem, it could be job problem. But most often, we need to continue to battle and stay pure and holy in order for God to totally destroy the enemy who is battling us with such trouble. 19. Lastly, and the man of God was wroth with him and said, thou shouldest have smitten 5 or 6 times. Then hast thou smitten Syria till thou hast consumed it. Whereas now thou shalt smite Syria but thrice. As I said, sometimes we need to take the battle little further until we totally has control over the trouble that we are going through. The battle sometimes need extra prayer, extra fasting, extra vigilance, extra caution, extra dedication, continuously. Getting closer to God. And in our share, it all comes by listening or obeying the instruction from a true man or a woman of God. Because God speaks through them. And God used them as his voice to command and direct us to a victory. Do you want to be victorious in this year? Do you want to overcome the trouble that entangle in your lives? Then we need to be obedient and take the battle a little further. and continue until we become total liberated as the children of Israel of old. That the King Joash should have continued to smite him. But I believe he was tired and he was so excited by just smiting just 3 times and say it's over. No. He said you should have continued to go a little further until you totally destroy your enemy. Not just bringing them down.
Take them out.
It's not over yet. You need to make sure you acted as David. When he struck Goliath down, he made sure he went and stand at his head and took his own knife and cut his head to make sure it's down and down completely. Whereby Goliath can never get up after taking breath and stand again and fight back. We need to continue to make sure we have been totally liberated and win the fight. Shall we stand on our feet?